I have two programs that I help people reach financial freedom through this asset class called co-living, real estate investing, or shared housing, room rentals, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's one of the fastest. It's one of the fastest growing asset classes, and I believe it's one of the fastest, most stable ways to get to financial freedom for you and for your family. And in these programs, this mastermind, we have these things called pods, and a pod is a small, intimate group, 3 to 6 people that we put you in when you join one of our programs to build accountability, to build community, and to have people that call you out when you're making excuses. I interview somebody that I've been in a pod with for 7 years, and he shares with you why A, you must be in a pod, and B, why the greatest form of love for someone else is sometimes to hold them accountable and to call them out when they're making excuses for not reaching their dreams. So this is why you have to join a pod, or if you're not in the program, come join us in our program. Check this out. Courtney, what's up? What's up, buddy?
Dude, it is so good to see you here. Not only is it good to see you, Sam, but it's good to see this community that you're building. Listen, guys, I want you to know something. Don't you just feel like you're in the presence of somebody special when you're around Sam? Is that not how everybody here feels? Like, hands in the air if you feel that way. Because I tell you what, I haven't seen Sam for a minute. Like, I feel that way being here, man. So, Sam, congrats to you for building this community. Congrats to you for adding so much value to the lives of all these people. I just can't wait to see all the impact that y'all are making. Like, think of all these communities, think of all the housing, think of all the families, and think of all what you can do in those communities and for your own family and in your own community. Like, it's so special to me that you're all here doing this together. Thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. Courtney is a dear friend. We are in a mastermind together, and we were in a pod together for, gosh, it was probably 7 years strong, right? 7 years.
Yeah.
And
baby.
guys, Courtney is a coach. He's an agent himself, but he runs a team, and he's a coach, and he coaches agents and he coaches team leaders to net 7 figures. So Courtney knows what he's talking about. Courtney also is the founder and CEO of the largest #1 EXP team in all of Canada. So this guy knows his stuff. He's a total badass. And I brought him on to just for a few minutes to just chat about our experience in pods. And my hope is during this little conversation, I'm going to ask Courtney some questions that you guys will be inspired to get super active in your pod. If you're not in one, you'll reach out to Hannah. You'll email support@scaleyourrealestate.com, and you will get active in your pod, because that could be the most valuable thing of this whole thing, that you joined. Like, everything else could just be a bonus to the pod. But yeah, where do you want to start, Courtney?
Dude, I was just sitting here, thought, listen, we've all heard it before. I gotta get my video back here. You've all heard it before, that proximity is power, right? Just think of the proximity that you have here, my friends. You're around people that are doing the same thing. You all have the same goal, okay? Now, maybe you're doing it for different reasons, but the fact is that you're all here for this similar cause. And that alone is just a really special thing. And I think, one of the things that we ought to just acknowledge and be grateful for here. But the second thing that I want to share with you is that not only is it hard enough to find people in life that share these sorts of goals, that have this kind of laser vision that you all have right now to this objective that you're all here for. Don't squander it, okay? You've managed to come this far, to get this many people around you with this common vision. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to show up to your pods and ask the hard questions, okay? I'll tell you a quick story about the pod that I was in. This was kind of in the early days of Sam and I getting to know one another. And I was just learning about accountability to a high level. And I want to tell you, I'm a super accountable person right now. Okay. But it started in this time hanging around Sam and some other guys we were hanging around with at our pod. And I had the gall to come to one of my Wednesday calls. We always had them at 1 o'clock. And I said, hey, listen, guys, I want to, change my physical condition. In fact, I've always wanted abs. So I want to have abs. And so my friend Adam asks, well, yeah, by when? In my head, I'm thinking I forget what date this was. Maybe it was May. I was like, well, September is what I was thinking. So I said in October, I'm going to buy myself an extra 4 weeks here. So Adam says to me, yeah, well, if not, what? I'm like, who is this guy, man? What kind of question is that anyway? I just told you I'm going to get abs. That's my goal, man. What are we talking about? Consequences are. But I was like, I'll tell you what, bunch of ballers on this call. I was like, I'll give each of you guys $1,000 if I don't have abs. And I'm gonna swear for a second, so please don't be offended. My apologies. It's my nature, but it's just a direct quote. Adam says to me, "That's fucking weak." And I'm like, "Bro, like that's $5,000. Is that really weak?" He's make it 100,000. He says, "Make it 100,000." And he's dead eyeing me in the screen like this on a Zoom call. And so I'm around like these ballers, okay? And I'm being called out like this, and I'm thinking, man, like I better have these abs because I can't say no right now. Like this is some accountability. This guy's calling me out. He just told me $5,000 was weak. And also I'm thinking like, I can't tell my wife this, man. Like I'm going to have abs guaranteed. Now, it's not to say that I didn't have $100,000, but Sam knows that back at this time, let's go back about 5 years, I was nearly broke. Okay. I'm not joking. Like my net worth's gone up like $6 million in the last 5 years, in many ways, thanks to guys like Sam and Adam. And these hard questions that I want you to ask one another. Okay. You see bullshit, you call it. You see somebody not showing up, you call it. You see somebody underperforming, you call it. You see somebody making commitments and not delivering on them, you call it. Ask hard questions. Guys, it's so hard to find a community like the one that you've got right here. Sam, is this free or are these people paying to be here?
They're paying.
Man, you're paying money to be here? Take advantage of this, okay? Y'all paid to be here. The next part is asking those hard questions, showing up for one another. I'm going to tell you something. 7 years from now, just like me, y'all be calling one another, be like, hey, listen, you want to get on my podcast? You want to come speak at my event? You want to be an investor in something that I'm doing? Y'all be doing that, and you'll have 7 zeros after your net worth, all because of the hard questions that you asked one another, the consistency that you brought to your game, and the way that you commanded the people in your pod to show up the same way.
I was on that call, by the way. I had forgotten about that moment. That was a powerful, powerful, powerful moment.
Dude, I hope, Sam, that changed my life, bro. For real. It really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope what people are taking away here is that everybody's going to be like, wait, if I get in a pod, do I have to donate? Do I have to have $100,000 accountability? Now no one's going to be in pods, Courtney. No, but I hope what people are really taking away from what you're saying is like, guys, this is about encouraging each other to be the best version of yourself. It's about not letting people get by with, hey, well, I was a little bit busy. I couldn't, like, hey, if you said you were going to look at 5 houses this week, go look at 5 houses this week. Like, come on. Like, you can still be loving, very loving. That's what we want to create.
I would argue that it's the biggest sign of love. Okay. Like, listen, you know who my slack ass beer drinking friends are. We all have them and I love them, but they ain't asking me hard questions. They're asking me what time we going out for a beer. You know who my dearest, most important friends are? They're like, hey, Cora, remember we were talking about this thing about a month ago. How'd you make out with that? Meaning like, tell me you did it. And if you didn't, I'm going to ask you why not. What happened, man? They're not going to let that shit go. They're going to say like, well, what happened, man? Did you change? Did your goals change? No. You know what, truth be told, and I'll just be straight with you. Like I got lazy, whatever. And then we'll have a conversation that's real. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me about that. How can I support you? And then maybe you talk about some lower level accountability. So if you find that you're failing at these things, just break it down. Go to a lower level. Hey, I didn't look at my 5 properties last week. Well, tell me about that. What happened? I got really busy. Busy doing what? Well, truth be told, my kid's school, and then I was a little sick, and I was kind of tired because of nothing. Hey, okay, cool. I get that. So what can I do to support you next week? Like, let's just take it down a level and talk about some maybe smaller factors that we could modify together to support you in getting your 5 next week. Do you want to make it 5 next week, or would you rather make it 4? What's best for you? Right? Like, these are the conversations that I want you having. This is what true friends do. And this is how you're going to help one another win at the biggest level. Like, you can't even conceive what's in your future if you ask these hard questions of one another in love. Just do it. It's not by accident to wear the shirt, by the way. Like, you have to be coming from a place of love, but ask those hard questions. And people will ask you those hard questions and watch your life change.
Beautiful, man. Guys, is that inspiring? Can I get a thumbs up and some love for Courtney? Is that not inspiring to get active, to be great? Yes. Thank you, Candy. I love that. Hey, Courtney, I had a bunch of questions I was to ask you, but dude, you just rolled with it and that was so beautiful. Last question, and then we've got to move on, man. This is so beautiful. I really, really, really appreciate your time, man.
100%.
You've obviously achieved a tremendous amount of success. I've watched your journey. I've seen you crush it. How important were relationships? Like, how important relationships over like just grinding. I know for me, I grew up in a middle-class family. And so the whole thing was like grind, work, and then you'll achieve results. And I think work is obviously a part of it and grinding is a part of it. But how much of it is those relationships that you formed around you that got you to where you are?
Yeah, there's a reason Sam's asking this question, my friends. And I'll tell you, there is work that needs to be done. Okay. So let's not excuse the fact that you need to put in the work. All right. It can't just be lunches and coffees and business meetings and the hope that things are all going to come together. There are many, many times where you've got to put your head down and you got to do the things that are going to deliver the goods. Okay. So no question. But I do want to say this. If you're like me, like I have ADHD. Okay. So like I can get laser focused on just about anything. All right. Focused on this thing, head down, buried, doing the things, burning myself out, getting a lot of tasks done. But here's the thing that I want you to think about. All of the greatest leaps that I've made in my personal life, and you know that the research around this abounds, most people that have made tremendous impacts on this planet, who've made tremendous impacts in their communities, have been able to do that because of the people that they're intentionally surrounding themselves with. And all it comes down to is this. You get around people that are just slightly ahead of you, doing bigger things. They're asking you harder questions, more challenging questions, but most importantly, you're starting to feel just like you belong. You're thinking, man, look at this person. They're crushing it. Dude net $1 million last month. I mean, he doesn't seem that bright to me. We're friends. He seems to like me. I mean, what's so special about this person? Well, not too much, just the opportunities that he's taking advantage of, and they don't seem super complex to me. So like, why don't I try that? Like, yeah. Hey bro, like, would you mind just explaining to me, like, listen, I love the $1 million a month thing. Maybe I'm not there just yet, but like, what types of psychological changes did you have to make to get to that point? And you know what? People are going to spend the time with you. Why? Because they were there. They were exactly where you were sitting and they want to help. That's the beautiful thing about getting around people, right? Have these conversations, get vulnerable, ask honest questions. They're going to unpack and help you along the way. And guess what? You keep showing up. And most importantly, somebody like that gives you a piece of advice or a task or something to do. You do it, you go back, you report back and say, yeah, man, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Well, you're going to get another breadcrumb. Next thing you know, you're doing a deal with this person. Next thing you know, you're making $1 million a month. Maybe they're making 10 million a month, but that's okay. You happy with your $1 million a month? No, right? So proximity is power to me. Yeah, you got to do the work. For sure, there's grinding. I'm not saying there's not, man. We're all here to work hard, no question. Nobody's looking for handouts. But you get around the right people, the right questions, stratospheric changes coming your way.
Courtney, I love you. Thank you.
Too, brother.
Great to meet you. And thank you so much for being on, brother.
Take care, y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all again.